get started here, of course, we're talking about nutrition. You know, really, some people just sit there and they look at me and say, you know what, Doc, this is great, but who cares? You know? I hear this big excuse, you know, like, who cares? You know, life was meant to be lived, right? Have you heard that one? Life was meant to be lived. I don't want to eat food that doesn't taste good. I want to just really, really enjoy everything that I eat. And if I go to the grocery, or if I go to the restaurant and they got some junk food there, hey, guess what? Who cares? That's what I want to do. You know what? And that's a great excuse all the way up until the point you have your first heart attack, your first stroke, you get diagnosed with Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, right? Because really when we think about our health, we really need to understand that we're doing it for three, okay? Always this is one of my big things. We're doing it for three, okay? And guess what? The first one, and the first and second one ain't you, right? So the first one, of course, when we're doing this, we're actually doing this for God, right? Because God wants us to have a healthy body. And the Bible, He talks about it being our temple. It says, keep the temple of Christ. Obviously, we maintain that, keep it healthy and keep it holy, okay? So we need to talk about that because we can't really witness to our peers if we are, in the nursing home, right? Or if we're, can't talk because we eat all of our food through a straw. So it's very important that we take care of our bodies. So this workout we're going to do is we're going to do lower body, we're going to do abs, and we're going to do shoulders. And we're going to work out for 3 minutes, and you all are going to be sweating here, okay? We got 3, 2, 1, crunch! Go! If you're doing this right, you should feel your fanny shaking. We do 75 to 80% of the world's surgical procedures. We do almost all of the surgeries. And we spend almost the most money of any country in the world on drugs. We spend $2.4 trillion on our drugs and surgery. How does that work? Right? We're the 42nd healthy country in the world. Right? There's only 37 industrialized countries. So we're literally more unhealthy than 5 unindustrialized countries in the world, right? Unbelievable. Our United States healthcare system doesn't work. We just had one of my good friends, her mom, at 63 years old, got diagnosed with, I forget, I want to say, they found her with what kind of cancer? A little cancer? A lot of cancer. When they finally diagnosed her, she had a lot of cancer. 3 months. She lived for 3 months. They gave her 3 rounds of chemotherapy and did 2 surgeries. She only lived for 3 months. It didn't work. It never works. It didn't work, right? For 3 months, she racked up a bill in the hospital of $940,000. Her husband is on the hook for $200,000. And his wife didn't even live, right? And he is a pastor of a rural church in Illinois. What do you think the odds are that he's going to die with no debt? Right? Because we spend all of our money to be in a system that doesn't even reach the core of how our bodies work, okay? Because there's that missing piece, right? What's the missing piece is the central computer. This is our brain and our spinal cord. This is literally what controls every cell in your body. For your heart, this is kind of amazing. For your heart to beat 1 time, what has to happen? The message goes from your brain, down your spinal cord, out through the nerves to tell your heart what to do. For 1 beat of your heart, right? If I cut the nerve to your heart, how long do you live? How long? Dead, right? What do we all agree? You cut the nerve to your heart, you're dead, right? What happens if instead of cutting the nerve to your heart, what if I pinched it? If I only pinch it, let's say I pinched it, took 50% of the pressure on the nerve to go into my heart, so it's only working 50%. What's going to happen to me? Yeah, it's going to kill me, but it's going to kill me how? Slow. So we got slow death, by the way, which if you pinch the nerve of your heart, what do you think happens to your blood pressure? What do you think happens to the plaquing in your heart? Heart disease, that is. Heart disease goes up. What do you think happens to every other cell in your body that has to compensate for that, right? That happens every time we pinch the nerve to our heart, right? Because take a look at this, by the way. We just talked about some really important stuff, didn't we? Nutrition. We did a great workout. If my nerve going to my heart is pinched at 50%, and even though I work out perfect, it doesn't matter whether I work out perfect or don't work out at all. It doesn't matter if I eat from Whole Foods or if I eat White Castle all day long. What's still happening to my heart? What do you think? It's still shutting down. Those nerves are still crushed. That's not how our bodies are designed to live. Does that make sense? So what do you think the most important test on the planet should be for your health? What do you think? Checking to see if the nerve going to your heart is working, or the nerve going to your organ is working. Because how do I know that my kids' lungs are working correctly and they need asthma medication, they need that inhaler? How am I going to know if their even lungs are working correctly if I never check to see how the nerve is going to the lung? Does that make sense? And that's the test that no medical doctor does, right? They don't test the nerves. Anybody ever had this where they're like, all right, put your arms out here, and they push, and then they say, push your arms like this, and they push? That's a muscular test. Guess what? You need about 60% of your nerve in order to pass this test, right? So you can be functioning at 61% and pass this test. Is that a healthy person? No, right? That is not a sensitive nerve test. That's what we do is we do our thermography. We're in our office, we're very, very specific. As most of you guys here are patients, right? We do our thermography test. We do our x-rays to look and see, because if there's pressure on those nerves, 100% of the time, if there's pressure on your nerve, what happens to the cell? Is it healthy or diseased? Diseased 100% of the time. It's an absolute, right? If you lined up 100 people right here in front of us and you gave them all medication, each one, you'll probably have, at least 10 of those people respond completely different to the medication, right? Because that is not an absolute. People respond different to medication. If you lined up 1,000,000 people in a row and you cut the nerve to their heart, what happens to all 1,000,000? They're dead. What happens if you pinch the nerve to all 1,000,000? They develop abnormal cells, unhealthy cells. Check this out, this is the coolest part. If you unpinch the nerve to 1,000,000 people, what starts to happen in their heart? They develop healthy cells. Now, is it possible that they've done such a good job at running down their heart during their lifetime that by the time we unpinch that nerve, it's too late? Yeah, well, here's the thing, it's possible. You might make you live another 5 minutes, right? But when do we need to unpinch the nerve? As soon as you can.